So we decided to do our first earth tone activity using watercolors. For those of you guys that are using watercolors, we need our wells. We need some water. We need some flat brushes. We need some paper towel. And last but not least, we need our watercolors. So we're going to do 3 sets. The first one, okay, we could just randomly pick any complementary pair. We're going to use the 3 most basic ones that involve primary and secondary colors. So the first complementary pair is going to be red versus green. Okay, and again, you can use technically brilliant red or crimson red. It doesn't matter. I'm going to stick with my crimson red because it feels a little bit more like a primary red. And I'm going to take my green. This time you can use green straight out of the tube. And if you're doing this with pencil crayons, you're just following along with pencil crayons. You're going to pick a red pencil crayon and a green pencil crayon. I didn't open this green yet. And again, the lids should have a sharp tool at the end of them that will help you open the paints. If not, just use toothpick. So color theory states that when you're using opposite colors next to each other and they're fully saturated, meaning they're not dulled down, tinted, toned, that they're really, really contrasty. They're high contrast. They make each other pop a lot. Okay, so I'm going to try it out. I'm going to do a full-on red in this section here. I also want to make this fully red here, the start of my mixing chart. And again, these are watercolors, so do remember to add some water to them. I'm going to rinse my brush completely, and I want to show what this red will look like if I have a fully saturated green next to it. So I've got my green. I'm going to add a touch of water to it to loosen it up. Okay, so whenever you have an artwork and you want the red in your artwork to pop, if there is green close by, the green makes the red pop a lot because they're opposite colors. I might have added a bit too much water to this. Okay, and we're going to do a full-on green on this side. So here what we want to do is similar to what we did here. We want the two to merge together, and we're going to get certain shades in here. That's going to be a mixture of the two of them. So you can start with the red and slowly add green into it, or you can start with the green and slowly add red into it. Regardless, you have your most saturated red here, and you're gradually becoming less and less red as you move towards the green square. And here you're mostly saturated with your green, and you're becoming less and less saturated with green as you move back towards the red. Okay, so we can just start with red as we read left to right. Okay, I'm going to take a tiny bit of the green and I'm going to introduce it into my red and see what happens. And what you should get is, again, like kind of a deep cranberry red. Almost like a mahogany color. If we add more green to it to make it about a half and half ratio, you'll notice that you get a really nice brown. So slowly add more and more green and mix it until you see a nice chocolate brown. And what you will see when we complete this activity is that the middle square on all of them will be some form of a brown. Meaning that when you mix complementary colors together in equal amounts, you usually get some form of brown. Okay, and then in this one, we're going to add even more green to it. So I'm low on green. I'm going to add a bit more green to my palette here. So we want this side to be more green, less red. On this side, we've got mostly red with a touch of green in it. And in the middle, it's about half and half. Okay, so here we can add more green to it, or you can even just take your green and add this brown color back into it. Okay, so here we see what green looks like with a touch of red added to it. And it's almost like an army green, like a deep forest khaki green. Very earthy colors, very earthy tones. So when you are doing a painting, sometimes, right, you'll look at your paint set and you don't have the colors that you need. You need them to look a bit more natural and toned down. This knowledge will help you create your own colors for your painting, as opposed to depending on buying a tube of every single color, which is really unrealistic. Okay, so let's try another complementary pair. Let's work down our chart. So we did red and green. What's another complementary pair? We could do blue versus orange. Okay, so in this case, we're gonna use some Fresh Wells, and I'm going to use my ultramarine blue because that's closest to a primary blue and with this set. I don't have an orange in this set. However, I have the Brilliant Red, and I can mix that with some medium yellow and create an orange on my own. So again, when I'm mixing primary colors, I usually want to be careful and do a little less of the darker one and a bit more of the lighter one. So I'm going to do almost half and half, but maybe slightly less Brilliant Red. Okay, and when I mix those together, let's see if I get a nice orange. It pulls a bit too much on red. I think I'm going to add a bit more yellow. That's better. Okay, so here I'm going to do a fully saturated orange, meaning an unaltered orange, 100% orange. We'll put the orange on this side here as well. Okay, give your brush a good rinse. And again, don't forget to add a little bit of water to these. These are watercolors. So on this side, we're going to do a fully saturated blue. Same with here. And again, if you have a pure blue close to a pure orange anywhere in your artwork, the two are going to make each other stand out a lot. So if there is an area that you want to emphasize in your work and it's either of these colors, introducing a little bit of the other one in the surrounding area is going to draw your eyes to the opposite color, vice versa. If you want that bold look. Okay, but let's see what happens when we mix these two complementary colors. What kind of earth tones are we going to get? Okay, so first I'm going to do mostly blue with a touch of orange in it. So I'm going to take my blue watercolor and I'm going to add a little bit of orange to it. And you're probably going to get kind of like a deep ocean blue. Mine is really watered down here. I might actually add a little bit more paint. I'm gonna just add a bit more paint because, again, I feel like it was a bit too watered down. Okay, and this time we're going to keep on adding the orange in until it's half and half. And you know it's half and half when you start seeing a brown color. In this case, it's going to be kind of like a honey mustard undertone. Kind of a really warm teak brown. Okay, and then last but not least, I'm going to take some of this brown and I'm going to bring it back into my orange because now I want to see what happens if I do mainly orange with a touch of blue in it. And it should be kind of like a rusty orange color. Okay, it's crazy to think that these colors are all created by a combination of your primary colors. Really, we made the orange with red and yellow, and here we have a blue. So our three primaries mixed together in different combinations are giving us all of these beautiful earth tones. Okay, last but not least, let's look back at the wheel. What is the last complementary pair that I have here that involves a primary and a secondary? I've got yellow is my last of the three primaries, and the opposite color is violet. Okay, so in the last one, I'm gonna rinse my brush really good. I want to use clean wells. And in this one, I'm going to use yellow and violet. You can, again, you can use either yellow. I'm gonna continue with medium yellow. You can do lemon yellow as well. And I want to mix the violet. So remember how we mixed violet the other day? We used ultramarine blue and crimson red. So I want to go almost half and half, but I'm going to do a little less of the darker color blue and a little bit more of the red, just a touch. And when I mix those together, I will hopefully have a nice violet. Okay, I'm going to add a touch of water, mix them together. It's pulling a little bit too much on red, so I'm going to add a bit more blue. Okay, and we'll test it out. And it does look like purple. Okay, so we'll take a break here for you to catch up, and then we'll continue to fill in that last set of earth tones.